Good morning. This is Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, Summer Edition 2025. It is Memory Monday. Memory Monday. And today we're going through a series on Mondays called the Lord's Prayer. And I'm putting them on Memory Monday because I've been doing this for over 9 years. And throughout that 9 years, there has been times when I've done the Lord's Prayer. There was different series that I've done. So I may consider doing other series that I have done. Why? Because I have not uploaded them all onto YouTube. And Facebook has taken all of them down because now you're only allowed to keep them up for 30 days. Therefore, I'm headed over to YouTube, putting these there where they will remain. So, after you've watched this here on Facebook, go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison. It's different than my Facebook profile. Mona E. Harrison. You'll see my wisdom, hair, and my beautiful face, and you'll know that you're in the right place, because that's pretty much all I show. Alright, so, with that, go there and subscribe. Hit the button, it's right about there. Subscribe. And get all the bells and whistles. Go ahead and get the notifications as well. And both on Facebook and on YouTube, like, comment, and share. I like comments, even if you disagree. It's okay. Sharing if you find the content valuable. And of course, liking. Because I forget to like the stuff that I listen to. And because I forget, I feel like I probably need to remind you to like the things, because if we forget, then nobody will know that we liked it. And then the algorithm gets lost. And so others don't see it, because the algorithm is what drives the video. All right, so Memory Monday. So right now we're doing the series, The Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer. If you've missed the others, go ahead and go back, probably on YouTube. Go back onto YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, and watch the other series, the other parts of the series. And you can listen to them on fast speed, which you can't do on Facebook unless you're on your computer and you have a speed controller. So if you're on your computer and you have a speed controller, you can listen to them on fast speed. But other than that, YouTube has the speed right already attached to the app. So you can go in there, set it on to fast speed, listen to it. You don't even have to watch it, unless, of course, you want to see my beautiful face. If you want to see my beautiful face, you can absolutely watch it. But you can actually just listen to it while you're doing chores, while you're doing hobbies, while you're taking a casual stroll, while you're resting. And that way, you'll actually be multitasking, but not in a way that stresses out your body. All right. So, with that, because I'm not big on multitasking, I frown against it. But when you're listening to something, it's simple to listen to it while you're washing the dishes. Okay? So I'll keep that. That's actually a Tips Tuesday thing. Okay, so Memory Monday, the Lord's Prayer. Today, we are on heaven and earth. So, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. So, on earth as it is in heaven. So, I'm going to talk about earth and heaven today a little bit. Okay, so we know from the Bible that there was a third heaven. We don't know how many layers heaven is, but we know that there's a third heaven. And with a third heaven, we know that because Paul said that he was in the third heaven, and he wasn't sure whether he was there physically or if he was out of his his spirit was there in the third heaven. He didn't know whether it was just a vision, but he was in the third heaven. So we know that there was a third heaven, which means there's more than one, right? Or one layer. There's more than one layer. And so the way I have been described, I am not telling you from this aspect of I know everything, because I do not know everything. So you can look up whatever I have to say to see what it has to say, right? So from what I have been told, there is the first heaven, which is earth. Now, to me, earth is not the first heaven, because God created the earth. He was already in heaven creating the earth. So it couldn't be the first earth, but in our, how we describe things, that would be like how we describe it. So here's the first layer is earth. And that's the first heaven. Because God wanted the earth to resemble heaven. And he put man in the garden to grow the garden, to make the whole earth be the garden expanded. But we gave up our authority to do that. See, he put us in control of the earth. That was that space of okay, you have a job, this is your job, go do your job. I'm not a micromanager, just go do your job. You get to name the animals. Go ahead, Adam. You get to name the animals. Go ahead and expand the garden. Make earth like it is in heaven. That's why I don't like the idea that earth is the first heaven, because it wasn't the first in timeline. You also have to remember that God is not within timeline. Earth is in timeline. Earth had a beginning. And God was and is and always will be. He is outside of time. The earth was created with time. We see by the day and the night and the moons and the solar system and our seasons and all of that. It's all relative to time. And heaven, as far as I know, doesn't have that. Because I know it's outside of time. So maybe it does have a day and an evening. Maybe it does have seasons in heaven. I don't know. That I don't know. But I know that it's outside of time. There is no, oh, I don't have time for that. Or, oh, we have 10 minutes. Oh, the sun's going down. It's... We're not subjected to the concept of time in heaven. So earth has time. Heaven does not have time. Then there is a second layer. The second earth. The second heaven. The second heaven is the area of principalities and powers. That is, he talks about we don't fight against flesh and blood, but we fight against principalities and powers in high places. He's talking about that second heaven, that space where the devil comes back and forth to heaven. See, the devil can go back and forth into heaven. And because he's there, I would say that that's where the courts are. The courts, or at least, you know how when you're in a court, the judge is lifted up? He's like on a podium, and the lawyers are kind of like in that middle section before the crowd, And then you have your to the side you have your jury. You have your jury to the side. So you have the crowd, you have your plaintiff and your defendant, you have your prosecuting attorney, you have your advocate, and you have the judge sitting on the throne. On the throne. Up on his, judge's seat. And so I picture that maybe the judge's seat is above the second heaven, but you can see it from the second heaven. It's just how I perceive it, okay? We're not talking, go into the Bible, look up the situations between the interactions between the devil and God, and Job is a good example of that. When he's talking to the devil. See, they say there's no sin allowed in heaven, but yet there's principalities and powers in high places. So there's got to be a level to where they can go and where they cannot go, where they can be and where they can not be. So the second heaven is this space where they go back and forth. They were banished to the earth, but we know that the devil goes before the Lord and talks to him. He talks to him about us. He's the prosecuting attorney. He's going up to the judge and saying, hey, they're guilty of this by their own admission, or by the admission of their family member who, talked badly about them, or their friend that says bad things about them. So that's what I talk about watch what you say, because the advocate will use it against you, or he will use it against your loved one or your friend or even your enemy. And you're not supposed to take on that role of condemning your enemy. You're to love your enemies. So, heaven and earth. So you have the second layer. And then we know that there's a third heaven because Paul talks about the third heaven. And because Paul talks about the third heaven, we know that it exists. And I think it is there where the judge's seat resides, but you can see it from the second heaven. And I think that's where, that stuff happens that is righteous, that is holy, that is pure. That's that space. That's the space that sin cannot enter into. So therefore the devil does not have access to that level, but he does in that second level. So the earth was put into our hands. We were in charge of the earth. We were to speak heaven into existence on this earth by tending to the garden. It wasn't laborious work. Until the fall. So once they were deceived and the devil took that authority of the earth away from Adam and Eve, they now had to toil the land to survive. They had to plow, and there would be weeds and all this stuff that you have to deal with gardening. And so because of that, it wasn't an easy process. But now Jesus has come on the scene, and he has taken that authority back away from the devil. So the devil no longer has the authority, although he's still playing the game that he does. And as long as he can convince us that he does, well, then I win, So he's a pretender. He acts like he is in charge of this world when he is not in charge of this world. Jesus is in charge of this world now. And he has given it back to us in the sense that we use his power of attorney to sign off on whatever we bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Notice the order. It is bound on earth, and then it is bound on in heaven. It is It is loosed on earth, and then it is loosed in heaven. We, on this earth, signing the power of attorney in Jesus' name, written in blood. He paid for it. And he has placed it in our hands to use his power of attorney. And when we use it in his name, and we use it in his, according to his will, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. So, we no longer rule the earth. But Jesus rules the earth, and he has placed it into our hands to be stewards of that space. So when he says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, we have to be on earth binding and loosing according to the will of God. How much of that are we doing? We beg, we plead, we pray. Remember I was talking about prayer, what prayer is not? Prayer is conversation. But there are times when we have our list, even though God knows what our list is. That is petitioning. Petitioning. It's another legal term, right? Petitioning. We're asking God for permission to know whether it is his will to do this or to that. There is declaring. When you have won a settlement, the judge will declare the settlement. The judge will declare the verdict. When you think about, trying to think of the word right now, judgment. Judgment. Judgment is not always a bad thing. Judgment can be a good thing. If the judge sides in your case, gives the verdict for the judgment in your favor, then there is some sort of settlement that is dispersed. So judgment is not a bad thing. But there is a declaration where the judge speaks. The judge speaks what that verdict is, what that settlement will be. It is proclaimed. Sometimes the judge won't say it right there in the court because there has to be some things behind the scenes that are done and prepared and documents and all the red tape and all that stuff. But there is a time when it is revealed what the settlement will be. And when the settlement is revealed, the reporters report it. The reporters report it. And usually the person who receives the settlement is not quiet about it. They're like, I won. Not only did I win, but I just got $1 million from them scumbags for doing dirty deeds to me. And the judge saw my side. $1 million doesn't pay what it used to pay. But hey, we'll take it, right? Now, I'm not talking finances. I could be talking finances because God is not limited to anything. Okay. But I'm not specifically talking about finances here. I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not a name it and claim it person. But there is a declaration that we must declare and speak the promises of God. So if it's scripture, you can take it to the bank. And again, I'm not talking about literal bank. I'm not talking finances, but it could be. It could be. So you declare it. Well, guess what declaring does? When you declare something, you are binding or loosing. So, in order for on earth, as it is in heaven, we must bind and loose. We must use the power of attorney that God has given us. And we must prepare the soil for the planting, for the gardening. Having all the right creatures in place. Did you know that worms are really good for the soil? You know, ladybugs like eat aphids. Aphid eaters. There's all sorts of different types of minerals and nutrients in the soil that help certain plants grow. And there are certain microorganisms that play a big part in all of it. And then there's that circle of life that sometimes we don't even see. And it determines what is around that we can see. So those things that we don't see determine those things that we can see. It determines what kind of plant can grow there. What animal would eat that plant? What animal would eat that animal? So your whole ecosystem on this earth is a representation of spiritual things. So, when I think about heaven and earth, Jesus said heaven's here. The kingdom is here. He didn't say the heaven was here. He said the kingdom is here. And the kingdom represents the authority of heaven. And I picture that like a curtain. There's a curtain that you can just pass through from one space into another. This is just how I picture it. I'm not saying that this is how it is. This is what I'm picturing is you can walk through that curtain because it's already here. It's another dimension that is here. And in that space, I picture the curtain that was before the Holy of Holies. You had the holy place, and then you had the Holy of Holies. So you had the outer courts, first heaven, earth. You had the inner court. You had that holy place, and then you stepped into the Holy of Holies. And only one person could step into the Holy of Holies once a year for the atonement of the sins. And when Jesus came and once and for all was the last sacrifice, the veil was torn. The curtain was ripped from top to bottom, symbolizing God has ripped that curtain open and you can accessibly walk in to his presence. because the kingdom is here. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. How do we get it there? How do we get it there? How do we make the earth look like heaven? It's a spiritual concept, but it has earthly signs. It has physical signs. Not earthly. Physical signs. So you have physical signs to a spiritual concept. All right. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget, go over to YouTube. Mona E. Harrison. Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow for Tips Tuesday. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.